Let's get to it. We welcome back to the show Brian Hook, who's a former U.S. Special Representative for Iran, and Marc Thiessen, Fox News contributor, newspaper columnist extraordinaire. All right, Marc Thiessen, you lead off. I'm sure you saw it. I thought it was quite extraordinary. I think this whole story is providential. Pardon me for that, but that's my religious spirit coming out. I think it's a miracle what we're looking at, and I think President Trump is proving to be the greatest commander-in-chief since the Second World War. What is Marc Thiessen thinking?
So what is the greatest mistake that American presidents and world leaders have made over the centuries is that they don't take the words of the enemy seriously. So in the 1900s, Lenin published What Is to Be Done, promising to overthrow the czars and launch a communist revolution. We didn't take him seriously. 100 million people died because of communism. Hitler publishes Mein Kampf, declaring his promise to build a Aryan superstate and massacre the Jews. We don't take him seriously. 25 million people die in World War II. If Osama bin Laden publishes a fatwa in 1996 saying he's declaring war on America and Israel and promising their destruction, we don't take him seriously. 9/11 and the wars of 9/11. Putin publishes a document saying that the Ukrainian people and Russian people are one people and will be united by force if necessary. We don't take him seriously. That happens. The Iranians have been saying for decades, death to America, death to Israel. Donald Trump is the first president to take the words of the enemy seriously and to stop them before they kill millions. Yep. That is what is happening here. That is the miracle we are seeing unleash, which is a president, for the first president in American history, to act before the monsters of history massacre millions of people. That's what we've seen in the last 40 days in Iran.
With a steadfast vision, Brian Hook, a steadfast vision in the face of a remarkable barrage of criticism from the Democratic Party, from the legacy media, and for heaven's sakes, from sometimes the clergy even. I mean, but he had his vision, and he stayed with it. And, there are ups and downs and sideways and so forth. I think the blockade was the absolute coup de grace, Brian. I want to get your take on that. Trump said today it might even be more important than the military. I don't think it's necessary to choose between the two. But the blockade is the final blow, the financial blow, the economic blow. Iran will not have an economy in the next, I don't know. It's already starting. Give it another week or two of the blockade, and they will not have an economy. Foreign countries like the UAE and places, Qatar, they won't even do banking with Iran. I mean, it will collapse, I think, Brian. And this, too, was Trump's vision.
Larry, I think you're right. And this blockade, this economic blockade of Iran through the Strait is brilliant because the Iranian regime saw the Strait as their asset, and they used it to put economic pressure on Trump. President Trump has now turned that into a liability for the Iranian regime. And there is now economic pressure on the Iranians in order to come to a deal. And this is what I would call coercive diplomacy. The things that the president has done militarily and now economically, Operation Epic Fury followed by Operation Economic Fury, is strengthening the hand of his diplomats. And that is much more likely to produce the kind of outcome we need on nukes, missiles, and proxies. The Iranian regime right now, if you look at its economy, Larry, it has the highest inflation of any country in the world, something like 50% annually. Its currency has lost 97% of its value, and there is no economic growth. The Iranian economy is a cash economy. The regime relies on currency from oil sales to keep this whole enterprise afloat. Yep. And so by shutting down the strait to Iranian boats, the regime is going to experience a cash crunch, and that is going to lead to domestic unrest, and they can't have a repeat of what happened in January.
That could be, by the way, that's such an important point. Civilians want to take over. That could be the regime change. I mean, in history, if the people can't buy bread, they revolt. And that's what may happen in Iran. Yep. They're not going to have the money to buy bread for breakfast in the morning, for heaven's sakes, much less, nutriments and milk and things of that sort. Let me, speaking of the end game and what I call unconditional surrender, let me just play some tape from what General Jack Keane told me last night on the show. Please take a listen.
We want everything. You surrender everything to us. By the deadline, you make a commitment to that. And that means everything, just as President Trump has said before. We make zero concessions to these guys, zero. And we don't throw them a lifeline.
All right. So what do you make of that, Marc Thiessen? General Keene's being very tough. President Trump is always open to diplomacy. He's talking about a deal, but I'm not sure what the deal is. The deal. I mean, Iran. We're not bargaining with Iran anymore. There is no Iran. They have nothing. They had nothing to lean on. They have no. They're gone. So they got to turn over the nuclear, the uranium, the nuclear sites. They have to have inspection rules. Eventually, the Hormuz will be opened up. But that's. I mean, I think Keene is right. Until they change their behavior, we don't want to help them. No more. Obama gave them all that money. There's cash assets that they want. Yep. No, no, no. Not now.
Yeah, the deal is you give us 110% of what we're asking for, and we won't kill you. And we won't crush your economy.
Right.
That's the deal.
Right.
That's the deal. There's no cash infusions. This is what we're going to do. And by the way, what that means is we go in, they let us go in, as we did in 2003 in Libya, and we went in and we crated up. So U.S. military planes. We crated up all their nuclear materials, all their centrifuges, everything, and took it to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Supervised the destruction of their ballistic missiles and ended their program. That's what we're talking about. They let us do that. We won't kill you. And by the way, these leaders who are negotiating with him, the only reason they're alive, they were taken off the kill list, is in order to negotiate. If they're not willing to make a deal, then they have no reason to continue living. So they can join the Ayatollah Khamenei in Gehenna if they don't want to make a deal. That's the choice they have.
Israel's in charge of personnel. Israel's in charge of the Human Resources Department. And so I think they'll go to work with some very bad grades. Brian, I want just this last moment here. On this, look, they're going to have talks, okay? But again, I want to stay with the Jack Keane script, and I want to stay with what Marc Thiessen just said. That's my view. I don't want them off the ground. I don't want to help them at all, okay? In fact, I want it to be so bad that the general population rises up and revolts, and this time we will help them. That's what I want.
Well, you know, President Trump is famous for saying that Iran has never won a war and never lost a negotiation.
Yeah.
He understands very clearly the kind of cat and mouse diplomacy that this regime is famous for. And he now has the leverage, especially if he's patient. Like you said earlier, Larry, he's in a great position militarily and economically. There is this ceasefire. I think it's very telling that the Iranian regime has not broken this ceasefire as our ships are going through the strait.
Good point.
Because that's a tell that they don't want they don't want to restart the war. So that increases the odds of the president getting the deal he wants. And
good point.
No enrichment, ending support for proxies, and we don't need the long-range missiles. They simply don't need them to attack America.
Yes, well, I hope that's right. You're right. It's a great point. And the blockade is working. I mean, I don't know what the count is up, 15 or 20 ships, but the blockade is working. The great U.S. Navy is working it. And there's this, and I want to control it. I want to control the whole Persian Gulf area for weeks and weeks and weeks. That's all. I don't want anything. No money to Iran. None. Zero. There's still work to be done. We still have to get true regime change. Anyway, I got to get out. You guys are fabulous. Today was a remarkable day. And God bless Donald Trump. I will say that. Brian Hook, thank you. Marc Thiessen, thank you.